mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 4, Episodes 1 and 2, the final season of FX's Atlanta, entitled, let me get these episode titles right, The Most Atlanta, that's Episode 1, and The Homeliest Little Horse, that's Episode 2. First, I want to start by thanking my patrons. I got a few more over the course of the past couple days, up to 5 now, a monumental 5 patrons, but hey, it's better than 0, right? And I just started the Patreon, but if you're curious about the Patreon, there's a video called Major Announcement on the feed, and there's also a link to the Patreon in the description, so you can click that, get a description of the prices, what you get in all the tiers, etc. So, I want to start by talking about what I think is a pretty perfect first 2 episodes to the final season of Atlanta. And I think when I say they're pretty perfect, I don't necessarily mean like the episodes themselves are just like flawless masterpieces, right? But what I mean is that I feel like for what Atlanta is, ironically, the first episode being called The Most Atlanta, for what Atlanta is, I think these 2 episodes perfectly encapsulate what this show does best. The first episode is just fun. You know, you get to see you get to spend time with the characters. And I love that. And that was one of my complaints about season 3, was that we didn't get enough time with our main group. And then we just get to spend this time with this main group, and they're experiencing all the wild things that they're experiencing. And it's fun and it's enjoyable. And then the second episode gives you something to think about, gives you something to discuss, and that's how I'm going to approach it. I'm going to first talk about episode 1 just a little bit, because, again, that was just kind of a fun one. And then I'm going to give some a little bit more detailed thoughts on episode 2. But before I get into that completely, if you were with me for reviewing season 3, you know that I kind of do this every episode. I like to read the episode description that is within Hulu, because I like how these always tie into the episodes themselves. So, the first one from The Most Atlanta says, "Woo chow!" I had to say it that way. Atlanta is the ghetto these days. I'm thinking about moving to Miami where it's safe. Leave all my exes on red. Now, if you watch the episode, the leave all my exes on red, I think is the most interesting sentence in that description. And then for the second episode, The Homeliest Little Horse, the description is, "We got grown men out here being this petty. Y'all really need therapy. I don't, because I already know what's wrong with me." I love those 2 episode descriptions. And before I keep saying before I do this, and I've done like 3 things before I do this, I do want to talk a little bit about last season, because for starters, these first 2 episodes feel a lot more like Atlanta than last season did. You know, last season I complained about the episodes that didn't feature the main cast, and it wasn't because I'm like, oh, we don't get to see the main cast. It's because I felt like those episodes they just weren't that good. Like they felt like, what did I call them? Like living Twitter memes. Like they just ripped things from the Twitter headlines and did these poorly crafted kind of like satirization of like popular Twitter topics from years ago. And people are in the comments like, well, it was filmed a couple years ago, so blah, 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 blah. Like that doesn't fucking matter. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, that was an uninteresting episode of television, but I'm going to pretend like it wasn't because they wrote it 2 years ago. Like, it wasn't entertaining episodes to me. Well, I'm not going to say that. There were plenty of good episodes. There were some that I didn't like. And I think one of the problems that we, as a fandom, and when I say as a fandom, I don't even necessarily mean just Atlanta fandom. I mean fandom as a whole, whatever you might be a fan of. We got to get away from the idea that somehow it makes you less of a fan to criticize something that you're a fan of. You know, if you come on and you say, I didn't like this episode of Atlanta, you got people just like they fucking made the show. Like, how dare you? You must not like this show. It must not be for you. When I've done nothing but praise this show throughout the entirety of its existence. But I criticize an episode and people act like I have a problem with the show or that it's not meant for me. And I think people need to get out of such a remedial way of thinking and, I don't know, grow up and realize that, you know, being critical of something, pointing out its flaws, doesn't make you any less of a fan. I'd argue it makes you more of a fan, because you love it to the point where you want to see it perform at the level and at the expectations that you have for it. So I just kind of wanted to open by saying that. because that's my nice way of saying that if an episode comes up later that I don't like and you got a problem with it, you can go fuck yourself because I don't fucking care. And I'll do what I did last year. I'm either gonna be really mean to you in the comments, or I'm gonna delete your long typed out comment that you like got bloody fingernails pounding at your keyboard away typing. You're gonna spend all that time typing all that ferocity toward me. I'm just gonna delete it, and then you just wasted your time. So that's what's gonna happen. But back to talking about these first two episodes. These first two, the first one, like I said, it was really just fun. I was invested in all three storylines, and it was kind of like I just want to see how this plays out. This is entertaining. I think the most entertaining of the three was Darius in the air fryer, because I don't know, maybe you guys can remind me in the comments, isn't that based on like a real thing where there was like a riot somewhere and there was some white lady with a knife or something that tried to stop the rioters and they sprayed her with a fire extinguisher? Like, didn't that happen? Like, I feel like that was a real thing, but I loved the humor and the simultaneous terror of not being able to escape a Karen in a motorized scooter. So I was really invested in that storyline. I just thought it was funny. And even when it was predictable, like at the end when he gives the air fryer to Ern's ex, I knew that motorized scooter was going to come up, but I like the fact that you don't see her, you just hear the motorized scooter sound. You're like, oh shit. So I like, it has big like Halloween vibes, like Halloween is in the movie. You know, that idea of like, no matter where you go, or Friday the 13th, like, you know, the victim is running, Jason's always walking, but for some reason he's always right there. Like, that's what that felt like. And I thought that was really, just a really fun episode. And it was, you know, it was called The Most Atlanta, but like I said, I feel like both of these episodes are in their own way the most Atlanta. This one for the fun aspect of it, and then the second one for like I'm going to give you something to think about. This has a point. This has a purpose. It's a little bit more complex. It might be a little bit more conceptual. You know, when they decide they want to spread their wings and do a little bit of creativity. We see Paperboy go on this scavenger hunt, kind of, where he ends up at this rapper Blue Blood's funeral. He gets like he picks up on this message through the song, which ironically, I feel like that's something you can miss if you're just watching the episode. But I always watch everything with the captions on, so I had the words on the screen, and I see the words on the screen about the zoo pie and shit. He goes in there and orders a zoo pie, and I'm like, wait a minute, he just picked this up from that song? Like, what prompted him to do that? But I saw it on the screen with the words, so unless you were listening to the lyrics of that song while he was pumping gas, you might not have made the connection that what he heard on the song, he sees this place, and he's like, oh, let me go get this zoo pie. And then it takes him on this scavenger hunt, and he's hitting up all these weird spots, all these weird situations that seem like, why would this be part of the scavenger hunt? Like, why does he have to go to like a theater or watch a 3D movie? And then they're like, did he go into the past to watch that? Because he had the red and blue lens ones, and like they showed the screen not through Paperboy's glasses, and it looked like, you know, that red and blue kind of like aura almost that you see around the characters and stuff in those movies back then. Like, you wouldn't even, like, if you were born like post, like, I don't know what, like 2000, like, you're not even gonna know what the fuck that was. And I'm sitting there like, where did they even get those glasses? Where did they even get this movie? So, you know, that was fun. I'm just like, why did Blue Blood's clues send Paperboy to the past? I don't know. And then you get Ern and Van at the mall, Atlantic Station, I believe it was called. And I've actually I've been there and I didn't even realize it. Like I'm looking, I'm like, this shit look familiar. But I went to Atlanta one time. I've only been to Atlanta once. And I went there as a kid. And I went to that mall and I'm like, why does this look familiar? Because I'm recognizing like the underground like parking and shit like that. I'm like, I recognize this place. But they're constantly running into exes, and it ends up being just kind of like a fun thing where it's like, you know, they start like calling out, oh, I went on 6 dates with that person during this time frame, which I don't know about you guys. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be like, oh yeah, like see an ex and then be like, oh yeah, I dated her from this time to this time, and we went on this many dates, and she still has my shirt. Like, I couldn't do that. But we end up with what I thought was actually a pretty funny scene. When at first I thought it was supposed to be scary when they go into this door, they being Ern and Van, go into this door. It's like an emergency exit out of the parking garage. And Ern's like, you know, I'm going to go in there, and if I find a way out, I'll come back and get you. And she ends up joining. and they play the whole scene in complete pitch blackness, and you just hear them talking. And there's like a great moment where he says something like, "Is there carpet on the walls?" And she's like, "Why is it sopping wet?" Or something like that. Like, what in the world was in this room? But that's what makes it funny. That, you know, that you hear them describe what's going on. He's like, "You got to kick me. You got to kick me in the head." Like, what is in this room? And then they burst out into the funeral parlor that Paperboy ultimately ends up at when he ends up at the end of the scavenger hunt. And they go outside, and Darius is out there with the air fryer. They all end up reconnecting. And it's full, and it's cool, and it's just a fun time, and it was just a fun episode. So, enjoyable episode 1. And now moving on to episode 2, the homeliest of horses. Which wait, what was it called? The homeliest little horse. Sorry, which is the name of the book that this character Lisa ends up reading. And we end up having 2 plot threads in this one. That's you wonder how they're gonna connect for most of the episode. As a matter of like most of the episode until like the final scene actually. And you have the 2 plot threads. One is Ern in therapy, which there's a lot to unpack here. And then the other one is this white lady, Lisa. She watches her buff black EMT neighbor change clothes. She's written some book, and she has a publisher who wants her to read it at a book reading. And we can't figure out why these 2 things are connected. So I want to start with talking about Ern at therapy. There's a couple of things that are laid out here that, for one, I don't even know if we even knew about this. I'm like, is that news? But we find out, well, we knew already that Ern got kicked out of Princeton like season 1. Like that was like, I vaguely remember something about that, but it's not something that we've been that the show has discussed in the time since. But we do find out what happened here. And he tells this story of this friend of his, Sasha, that he got cool with. He gets a job interview. He gets a nice suit. I think he said his parents sent him some money. He scraped up some money, gets this nice suit for this job interview. But he gets asked out to a party by some girl he has a crush on. And Sasha says, "You can stash the suit in my room and then, you know, hit the party. And then when you're done and you need the suit, hit me up and you can come get it." He finishes up with the party. He hits her up and she's like I'm going to say ghosted him because I don't think she was ghosting him, but she wasn't available for whatever reason. She's not answering his calls. Also, he mentioned that both him and her were RAs there. So he goes down to her. Well, at first she responds and says something like, "Not available, sorry," or something like that. He goes down to her room, uses his master RA key, goes in, gets his suit, leaves. And then it ends up blowing up into this whole thing. And he says that Sasha kind of essentially threw him under the bus. A lot of rapist and racist language was used to describe what he did. He got expelled, intrusion of privacy, all of this sort of stuff. And he's very resentful of her that he's like, I thought we were cool. I just go in there to get my suit. And he's like, why did they treat me like this? I'm an RA. Why'd you give me a master key if you didn't expect me to use it? He says he felt angry. He felt hurt. All of these feelings, I'm just like, wow, like, this is crazy. Like, I had no idea that this was going to happen, that this happened to him. And there's a moment where the therapist even says, like, he says, like, that situation must have reinvigorated feelings that he had from when a family member, I'm trying to remember the exact terminology he used, but I don't know if he said hurt you or something like that, but something that implied that Ern had some sort of ill run-in with a family member. I don't want to say that he was molested because I feel like it didn't say that exactly, but something about some run-in with a family member. And that, was that news? Did we know about that? I don't know if we did. And then Ern tells another story. So he comes back to therapy, and after he leaves the first session, the therapist has kind of convinced him to do the Princeton thing. Oh, I didn't even say describe what that is. This starts because Ern is invited to speak on some panel at Princeton. He says, no, go fuck yourself. And he's like, unless you give me an honorary degree. They say, okay, cool. He still doesn't want to do it, but after he talks to the therapist, he decides he's going to do it. And then he decides to make a whole family thing out of it. He's going to go, he's going to bring Van, he's going to bring Lottie. They're going to go have a good time. And he wants to discuss with Van a potential move to LA because he got offered a job there. He's been having a whole lot of heart issues, apparently, revolve around stress. I think stress pertaining to how Lottie is going to handle how this situation could play out if Van doesn't want to go to LA. So there's a whole lot to unpack here. And so when Ern comes back the second time, he's asked about what happened with the Princeton situation. He said that he decided to go. And he tells the story about going to the airport, can't find his license, so he takes his passport. He gets harassed by this TSA agent who says that the passport is too worn to be accepted, gives him a hard time. And long story short, they end up going with another black woman who sees them through without issue, says that that white lady does that to a lot of the black travelers, and that she's also not a manager, which she had claimed to be. And he just has like a completely shitty experience. And in this episode, we've heard 2 experiences where a white woman has done something very hurtful and damaging to him. And he has a great line here, and I'm going to read this line because it resonates with me. And I'm going to talk about why it resonates with me when I get to ultimately what we end up finding out about how these 2 stories are connected. He says, "I love spite. It's a pure, powerful thing. It gave me courage." Like, on one hand, yes, that might sound petty on the surface, but I want to talk about what ends up happening. So in the final scene, we see Ern at a bar. He's with Paperboy. He's with Darius. And the book reading with this person, Lisa, is on a TV screen there. Several TV screens there. I'm so thrown off here. I haven't even talked about Lisa's book reading. So Lisa ends up getting this opportunity to do this book reading for this book. She's told by a publisher, like, as soon as she walks in, like, your book is great. I got a deal for you. Everything's gonna be great. I'm gonna be a book agent. There's a publisher coming. Look out for this hat. Everything. He just lays out this perfect dream scenario. She goes to the book reading. The kids it's black kids that are sitting there being read to. They're giving her shit. They're cooking this book like this. The horses are farting. All this. They're giving her a hard time. The publisher walks off. There's a nice touch where, like, you can tell that the publisher walked out of, like, the emergency exit because, like, you hear, like, a siren go off and the door slam shut. And she's just devastated. She's crying outside about how terribly this went. And then we cut to Ern and Paperboy and Darius at this bar with her on the TV. And we find out this is all one elaborate setup. We even see various people who came across Lisa's path during her storyline. The publisher with the hat, the agent the agent's assistant or secretary or whatever. All these people are there at this party. And this is all one extravagant act to screw over this lady because Lisa is the TSA agent that gave Ern shit at the airport. And Darius and Paperboy almost seemed flabbergasted at how petty this is. And so was I. Like, when they did that reveal, my jaw literally dropped. And I very rarely does my jaw drop watching a television show. But my jaw dropped. And was what he did to her petty? Yes. But was what she did to him not also petty? You know, what makes what Ern did more petty than what she did? Because he was better at it? Like, that, like, to me, we live in a world where people consistently do shitty things to other people. They just don't treat people with common decency, respect, whatever. They do shitty things. And for some reason in this world, when the person who is mistreated responds in a way that is anything less than mistreat me some more, the person who responds gets chastised. Like, you should have been the bigger person. Why did you overreact? And it's because people can't see past their own shittiness. Like, they don't understand how shitty their behavior is because all they could think about is themselves. They don't think about how what they do impacts other people. This is consequences. This is comeuppance. This is that woman getting what she deserved. Like, she got that back. And I know that's not the lesson I'm supposed to be taking from this. But the lesson I take from this, and I think maybe a part of I don't know who wrote the episode, Donald Glover, Stephen Glover, I don't know. But whoever came up with this conceptually, I think maybe part of it is I am supposed to be taking away that this lady got what she had coming. But I don't think I'm supposed to take it away as strongly as I did because I just have personal issue with how people just don't seem to see consequences for being shitty to others. And I like seeing, especially when it comes to white people treating black people shitty for no good reason. Like, obviously, you could turn on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whatever your news station of choice is, and see this at play. And I'm tired of there being no consequences for shitty actions, or if there are, the person who responds gets chastised for responding, and the person who did the shitty thing in the first place gets overlooked. So like seeing that come up and seeing that the consequences for her actions, like you treated a black person shitty for no fucking reason. And I like, so if the message, and I know this isn't the message, but hypothetically, if the message was supposed to be that Ern did something wrong to her, I ain't fucking get that message. My message was that a person who did something incredibly shitty to somebody, and you might look at it as just like, oh, well, all she did was give him a hard time trying to get, like, no. She treated a black guy shitty because he was black and for no other fucking reason. And now she got, yes, what he did was more elaborate, more well thought out, you can't even necessarily say more intentional. But, I'm not going to sit here and judge Ern for being better at it than she was. All I look at is, like you said, spite's a powerful thing. That woman earned it, and she got it, and she deserved it. And watching her cry, I would have been just as fucking satisfied as Ern was. Does that make me shitty? I don't know, but I don't fucking care because I'm sick of people doing this. So, like, I really enjoyed the idea of, especially, they say in the episode, the therapist is always like, this is a white person, right? This is a white person, right? Again, same deal. White people getting away with being shitty and seeing no consequence. And it can be something as trivial as giving Ern a hard time for a passport. It can be something as important as running over a bunch of black people at a rally. Like, whatever the case may be, or shooting a black guy in the back because you're a cop and you can do that. Like, these sorts of things, they just constantly get away with it. And it wears on your soul as a black person to see this happening again and again and again and seeing no consequences from it. So when I see, even if it's fictional fucking consequences, I loved it. I'd have been sitting there like, I don't know if you guys have seen the meme of like, it's like a gif of like a black girl. She has a cup that says white people tears. She's like drinking it. She's like, this is good. That would have been me watching that Lisa character cry. And I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care. So, great start, I think, to these first 2 episodes of Atlanta in the final season. I hope we can get all 10 episodes with this group, and all 10 episodes can be like these first 2, and this show can end the way it started in an incredible way. And we don't have to kind of linger on the divisiveness of season 3. I think even though this was all filmed at one time, this did feel like, it's almost like they knew, like, people might not be too happy with some of the decisions we made in season 3. So let's go back to, like, OG Atlanta for the final season. And I liked that. So I will be here every week to talk about the remaining 8 episodes. I'm excited. I am. Like, this is a show that I think everybody who's watching this video has loved for the entirety of its run. We're going to be sad to see it go. But I think at the end of the day, this show has been a creative, a massive creative accomplishment for everyone involved. Like, I've loved to see, look what Brian Tyree Henry has become since this show. He's doing fucking Marvel movies now. Look at, oh my gosh, why am I, Lakeith Stanfield. Look at what Lakeith Stanfield's doing now. Like the way this show has helped propel people. And it's like, now I'm sitting here watching these guys do this show where I'm like, man, I just saw that guy in a Marvel movie, recently. So, it's going to be sad to see it go, but I love what it's done for the culture. I love what it's done for the art. It's been great. So I'm looking forward to seeing these final 8 episodes. Let me know what you thought of these first 2 in the comments, and I will see you guys next week for episode 3. Peace.